1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is Antonio Gibson's first really good run as a running back in the NFL. He's going to get 20 yards. Could have had even more if he doesn't stumble there over Terry McLaurin's feet at the end. Makes a really nice jump cut outside, gets into the open field, and like I said, could have had more yards. He does a lot to create on this play, but this play is really well blocked by not just the offensive line, but by the receivers as well. Now, Washington runs a gap running scheme as opposed to a zone running scheme most of the time, right? You'll see them run some zone, as you will with all teams, but some teams are very zone heavy. Washington is very gap heavy. First thing you want to notice is Washington runs a lot of pre-snap action, pre-snap fakes, especially when running the ball. One of the reasons you're going to do that is because, well, it's something you're allowed to do. And what it forces the defense to do is to respect the possibility that the ball could be going this direction, which is lots of times opposite of the direction the ball will be handed off to the running back, which in this case he's going this way. And it'll get lots of times, really more than anybody, these linebackers out of position. I want you to watch number 47 here. As we have, this is jet sweep action. It would be a jet sweep if the ball was given to Steven Sims. It's an action or a fake since he's not getting the ball. I want you to watch number 47, though, right here. Watch what he does. Watch where that action takes. And the action takes him, maybe 5 yards from being right here to the entire opposite of the side where he needs to be. Because the running back is right here, Antonio Gibson. And so that's an example of why you run that pre-snap action, is to get them. You see 47, but all three of these guys are shifting. They're moving this direction. You have to respect that the ball might be going this way. You don't want to be caught off guard. So it allows a bit of a misdirection, a bit of deception there, and that's something Scott Turner is very keen on. Now, with the gap scheme versus the zone scheme, which you'll see a lot of times, first of all, with the zone scheme, it's going to look more like this, right? He's on the left side, Gibson is, so he's probably running this way, let's say outside zone. You'll probably have something like this. Logan Thomas is probably blocking one of these guys. He's responsible. Everyone is responsible for the players in their area, right? They're all the blockers, all the offensive linemen are going to move in the direction of the play together. So maybe you'll have Logan Thomas going up here, right here, blocking this edge. You'll probably have Brandon Sheriff and Morgan Moses moving this direction, double teaming this guy, and then maybe Morgan Moses peeling off to get this, or maybe Sheriff getting to the second level to get that. Roulier is probably going to move upfield and probably block this guy right here, or this guy right here, which will allow Wes Martin to get upfield and block him. And then you'll have Deron Christian most likely blocking, I believe, Vinny Curry right there. So basically, the idea is everyone's moving this direction, blocking this direction together, blocking the people in their area. With the gap scheme, what you're going to see is they are trying to create a wall, essentially, of blockers. And typically, this one's a little different, but typically flood an area to create an off-balanced group of blockers in one area before the defense has time to come up and make up for that. And what one key tell is you're going to see a lot of times these offensive guards pulling, right? In this case, it's Wes Martin pulling. You're going to see the offensive guard pulling lots of times, can be a tackle as well, and blocking an unblocked defender. So in this case, Fletcher Cox, right? You would think maybe that it would just be maybe a double team right here. But in this case, Brandon Sheriff is getting uphill. Wes Martin is coming backside, and he's sealing Fletcher Cox. Morgan Moses is not touching Fletcher Cox either. He's going uphill. He's blocking right there, that linebacker. And you're going to have Deron Christian blocking here. You're going to have Roulier blocking there, and they're going to create a lane here. Well, he's going to get inside, but Inman's going to block whoever comes down here, and they're going to create a lane here for Antonio Gibson to run through. And it's a well-blocked play. Just like that. So that's a maybe not so short, but a description of the difference between a zone blocking, a zone running scheme and how they block, and a gap scheme and how they block, right? You're going to create this gap right here, which is the B gap, right? The B gap, and we'll just look at that again, right? These are the A gaps, these are the B gaps, these are the C gaps, and that's the D gap outside of the tight end. So they're going to create a gap right here, A and then B, between the guard and the tackle, and that is where Antonio Gibson is going to end up going. And they do a good job on this play. They were struggling early on. getting into this, really nailing it down and getting it together well as a unit. But this is one of the plays where they really did a good job. And that pre-snap action helps. It gets number 47 out of position. He's over here, gets the safety out of position. He's moving this direction, and it gets him in a bad position to where Antonio Gibson's over here, and the safety has come down, and he's out of position now. He's in pursuit. So an example and a description on the type of running scheme Washington runs, which is a gap scheme versus zone scheme a lot of the time, most of the time, with a lot of pre-snap movement, pre-snap action. Week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals, and again, you're going to have that pre-snap motion, and this is a really, again, a well-blocked play. First touchdown for Antonio Gibson. Talking about that gap scheme again, right? So you're going to have that pulling guard again. I can't tell if this is Martin or Schweitzer. I think maybe it's a Martin. And he's going to come around. He's going to seal the edge, right? So again, you're leaving this guy right here, 42, unblocked, allowing that guard to pull in the direction of the run, which is what you'll see more often than the first play, which is opposite of the direction. He's going to run almost like a lead blocker. You're going to have Morgan Moses blocked down here, Logan Thomas blocked down here, Dontrell Inman blocked down here, and you're going to create a wall, essentially. You'll see it in a moment, a wall right here and a gap that looks just like that. And you'll see it happen here. Also, the pre-snap motion is coming this way. Typically, what you'll see with that pre-snap motion is that it'll happen opposite the direction of the play side, which would be this direction. Get these guys moving that way. In this case, it moves in the direction of the play, which is interesting because then what you're doing is you're bringing a defender into that area. I'm interested to know, I guess, the thinking behind that. I couldn't exactly explain that to you, but in this case, it works out. The player right here, he enters that area, but he's still focused on Sims, that he ends up really still being out of position, right? But if you look at the way it's blocked, right, you're going to have that seal, again, from the pull from Wes Martin. Here's that wall I was talking about forming right there on that side. Right, and you can see right there. There's that wall they created. And then Gibson does the rest, finishing with his power and with his speed as well. And again, if this is a zone blocking scheme, what you're probably going to see is you're going to see people moving in this direction together. Something like this. Right? That's typically what you'll see. Something like that. Not exactly that, something kind of like that. But in the gap scheme, it's pretty easy to tell the difference. Again, you're going to have this guard pulling, and then you're going to have blocking down, and then creating this gap, and they do a really good job. I'll show you one more time. Nice finish. Now, all the talk about gap scheme, this is an outside zone run. So they don't only run gap, they run a lot of gap. I couldn't give you the exact numbers. I'm inclined to believe that they run more gap than zone, which is different than what we're used to around here. Well, with Jay Gruden, they ran a lot of different things. It was a little inconsistent. With Shanahan, it was pretty strictly zone. Here, this is a zone run, and you can tell the difference, right? You can tell the difference. Everyone moving in one direction, and you're going to have just blocking the people in your zone. You're going to have double teams, and then while you're moving in the direction of the run, you're going to have the outside blocker on the double team work his way to the second level. Once 67 here has helped Martin has helped Roulier seal this block, then Martin's going to get upfield and get that. And then you're going to have Schweitzer here getting upfield and getting that, with Morgan Moses getting this. And so this is what a outside zone run looks like compared to a gap run, where you would have maybe him pulling outside and then him blocking down here, blocking here. He's probably lead blocking. There is a difference, and I won't explain the big differences as to why you go zone versus gap. There are reasons, and it has to do sometimes with the personnel you're working with the running back you're working with, just with the coach's preferences. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. But this is a really good outside zone run. Gibson does a good job of, right, he sees this flash. Once he sees this flash and this helmet outside, he takes that nice cut back inside, ends up getting 13 yards. Here we've got what appears to be a stretch run zone blocking scheme, not gap, but it's got a twist to it, right? We're used to seeing that pre-snap action. This time you're not going to see it pre-snap, but you are going to see it immediately post-snap. J.D. McKissic leaking out this way, and that really is what leads to this play becoming a 9-yard run. I mean, the linebackers were having a tough day all day. The Cowboys' defense was having a tough day all day. But this action is going to cause Van Der Esch, and I can't tell exactly who that is, but both of them are essentially out of the play. There's no backside pursuit coming from either of these players because they're keyed on McKissic and the possibility that this is a bootleg and that he's leaking into the flats. So you're going to have 55. Both these guys, they're out of the play at that point. It also appears to cause Jalen Smith, number 54, to freeze up just enough to where he's not crashing down on Gibson in the direction of the run at all. He's paused. He's frozen. You can kind of see it right there. And that just allows for Gibson to easily get outside, use that speed, turn the corner somewhat, and get 9 yards. It's a really interesting design, and it works really well here. Watch Jalen Smith just kind of freeze. He had a bad game this week. Just frozen. And Gibson is gone. And Gibson is really good at making that cut outside and then just moving his feet. 9 yards. Here's an inside zone run. Antonio Gibson displays really good patience and vision, makes a good cut, almost scores. Right, you can see the patience just before he cuts right through that hole. Right here, he takes one hop step, and then he goes. Well-blocked play. I'm curious as to what Cornelius Lucas' responsibility is. It's, again, zone, so you're going here, and then Roulier's getting up to the second level. Just like this, right? And Gibson is reading that zone. He has a spot to go to, and then he's making his cut based on which gaps become available based on the zone blocking. Lucas doesn't block here, and I'm assuming he's not supposed to. He ends up blocking nobody, so I'm curious about that. It's not RPO. I don't think it's read option, and you could tell it's not an RPO because RPO would have a pass blocking element from these two, and it would have a route over here somewhere. So it's not an RPO. Alex Smith is just faking that fully through, which is, why not? Try to work on your acting skills. But good patience and then vision and then burst from Gibson almost gets that touchdown. This is a really good run by Gibson, and he does a lot of this on his own. Again, this play is zone scheme. It's a stretch run, not gap scheme, and it really should be only a few yards gained. It ends up being a 13-yard gain, and a lot of that is just on Antonio Gibson, right? It's not blocked particularly well, but mainly because you're going to have number 30 right here who's just left unblocked. He's in good position to make a play here. This is where Gibson really starts to show you what he can do, and that cutback that he makes is phenomenal. Number 95 here, that may be Ezekiel Ansah if I'm not mistaken. He does a good job of staying in position. He's left unblocked on the backside of the play. He gets himself right in position to make this tackle and over pursues. Same with number 59. Sheriff doesn't get a great block on him, but gets just enough to where Gibson is able to make that jump back inside. You just have them blocking the guy in your zone, in your area, something like this, and Gibson kind of just does the rest and kind of has to do this one all on his own. And here we've got another play of Cornelius Lucas kind of being unsure what to do and not blocking anybody. Just looking for somebody to block, not really getting anybody. Gibson just makes a really good play. Again, he loves to bump into the back of his receivers, this time Cam Sims. Here's another run where Gibson displays good patience and vision. If I were to go throughout the season, I could probably show you a handful of runs where he doesn't have as good patience and vision, and they don't end up being 16-yard gains like this one. But here he does a good job. You're going to see J.D. McKissic motion back across the formation, and then it's zone defense at that point based on the way they realign. You're going to get Hill, number 24, inside of the box in the situation, which is better for the offensive line, for the blocking, right? He's not outside here. He's inside, and he ends up getting swallowed up to where he's not really blocked so much as just not able to get in position at all, right? He's not really being blocked here on this play. He just can't really get in position, and he ends up kind of being a non-factor. Gibson does a good job of pressing outside just enough, and Morgan Moses holds his block just long enough. Gibson presses outside just enough, and then right here he makes that jump back inside and gets away and has a couple guys diving for him, unable to bring him down. So good patience and then good vision there to not just take this and just go here. Good job to see this lane right here and make that quick cut and then get upfield. Here against the Steelers, that's, I believe, is actually the play where he ended up injuring his toe that affected him the rest of the season and still somewhat dealing with today. But this is a really good run, and a lot of this he creates on his own. This is another zone blocking scheme, and I'm showing you a lot of the better runs, the longer runs, and you're starting to notice a trend where a lot of these are coming off of the zone blocking scheme versus the gap, and it may point to Scott Turner learning the strengths of his offensive line and what they do well, and maybe he's found that they perform better in his own scheme. Maybe his running backs are better. Antonio Gibson specifically is better in this zone scheme. He does a good job here cutting back. Does a really good job, actually. You're going to have Morgan Moses and Brandon Sheriff here kind of on a double team that shouldn't be staying a double team this long. Actually, I'm not sure that Morgan Moses is helping too much. He's not able to get to anyone, Morgan Moses here, and you're going to have 34 right in the gap there. Gibson does a really good job to cut back, and then from there follow Moses, who ends up getting his hands on somebody, and then just kind of refusing to go down for a second there. Gibson displaying good power. A really nice cutback. He's good at those quick one cuts and then getting upfield. And I think maybe they found that Gibson is really good at reading out the zone blocking, making that cut, and then getting upfield. Does a good job here. Unfortunate that he got hurt. You may have noticed a bit of a trend here, and it seems that lots of times when we see that pre-snap action or that pre-snap jet sweep or end around, in this case end around from Steven Sims Jr., that action that gets these guys moving this direction, that may indicate more of a gap scheme run than a zone scheme run. This one is pretty cool. This is a combination of really good blocking by the line and then really good running by Gibson. They actually end up pulling both Sheriff and Roulier outside. And then you're going to have essentially two lead blockers here for Gibson. You'll see as he moves, Sheriff gets the first man inside, Roulier gets the second. Gibson does a really good job of following those blockers. Almost could have cut a bit more sharp up this way. Does a good job to avoid that foot tackle right there. And Roulier gets it just enough there. And then he does a good job following his blockers, making a couple of moves and getting upfield. He kind of just naturally avoids the first man. Was really good at avoiding the first contact, getting yards after first contact, and then makes a cut inside, then back outside. This is after he's injured, so he doesn't have that burst that he typically has. But I think schematically this is pretty cool too, to get these two guys pulling it right here. And you kind of, again, this is what the gap scheme is about. It's about overloading an area, one side of the field, with blockers before the defense can get there to make it up, and leaving guys unblocked on the backside like this guy, guys like this, leaving them unblocked and using pre-snap motion to get them out of position, using pre-snap motion misdirection, and then movement from the offensive line to get the yards that you're looking for, to get the blocks that you're looking for, versus just blocking man-on-man with whoever is in your zone. So that's the difference, and they both work well, but this one is pretty cool.